France 5, England 0 in the World Cup final. England have this expectation. All of a sudden their fans are starting to believe 1966, it's coming home, it's coming. Nope! France, au revoir. France are going to win this World Cup at a stroke.
So everyone's already picked their winner. France, because they're France, they've got the deepest squad in the tournament, and Mbappe's been here before. Argentina, because they're the defending champions, and Messi apparently just refuses to stop. And England, well, England are the team everyone's waiting to mess it up, because that's what England do. That's the whole brand. That's 60 years of doing this to yourselves. Except here's the thing nobody's actually saying out loud yet. Look at what's happening to the two favorites right now, today, this week, while everyone's busy writing England off again. Start with France. Tchouaméni, arguably their most important midfielder, the one holding the whole structure together in front of the back four, has basically torn his adductor again. The same injury that already cost him the Iraq game in the group stage, and now the medical scans are apparently worse than first thought, to the point where playing him against Morocco isn't really considered realistic anymore. And that's not just, oh no, they lost a player. That's them losing the one guy whose entire job is to make Mbappe and the rest of that front line look effortless. Meanwhile, this is also, by the way, literally Deschamps' last tournament. 14 years in the job, going out either as a two-time champion or as the manager who blew it in his own farewell. And if you think that kind of pressure doesn't seep into a dressing room, you have not been paying attention to a single football story in the last decade. Then there's Argentina. Two-time defending champions, sure, still got Messi, still got that aura, but look at how they've actually gotten here. Against Cape Verde, dramatic. Against Egypt, they were 2 goals down with 11 minutes left. 2-0 against Egypt before somehow dragging themselves back into it in stoppage time. That is not the form of a team cruising to back-to-back titles. That is a team that keeps finding itself one bad half away from going home and surviving it purely off individual moments of brilliance rather than any actual system working the way it's supposed to. And here's the number that should genuinely worry every Argentina fan. Their average age against Egypt was the oldest squad they have ever fielded in a World Cup match. Not close to it, the oldest ever. In a tournament that's already brutal on legs with expanded travel across 3 countries, that number only gets heavier every single round. Now, flip over to England. And I know, everyone's default setting is to assume the collapse is coming because it always has before. But actually sit with what's happened so far. They opened with a statement, 4-2 over Croatia, who are still ranked inside the top 11 in the world, Kane scoring twice inside the first half. Yes, they stumbled with a 0-0 against Ghana. Fine, that happens, groups are weird. But then they won the group, beat Panama comfortably, ground out a nervy one against Congo in the round of 32, and then came the actual test, Mexico. At altitude, at the Azteca, in front of a crowd that had every reason to believe in an upset. England go down to 10 men, Kwanzaa sent off, and instead of collapsing the way this exact team has collapsed in exactly this kind of moment before, they won it 3-2, Bellingham with 2, Kane converting from the spot to finish it off. That is not the story of a fragile team. That is the story of a team that has actually learned how to be uncomfortable and still find a way through it. And Kane. Can we just talk about Kane for a second? Because it gets lost in all the noise about England always finding a way to disappoint. The man is sitting on 6 goals already, level with England's all-time World Cup scoring record, at a tournament everyone assumed would be his last real shot at silverware after a career of very nearlies. Every single time this team has needed someone to just put the ball in the net when it mattered, he's done it. Penalty against Croatia, double against Congo, the winner and the penalty against Mexico. That's not luck stacking up like that. That's a player who has decided this is finally his tournament. Then there's Bellingham, who at this point has basically taken over the creative engine of this team the way Kroos once did for Germany, except Bellingham's 22 and still getting better every single camp. 4 goals so far, 2 of them coming in that Mexico game when England genuinely needed someone to drag them through it with a man down. And around him, you've actually got a midfield now that has some steel to it. Declan Rice doing the unglamorous work, covering ground, breaking things up, letting Bellingham go and hurt teams higher up the pitch. Now, is there a problem? Yes, obviously right back has become an actual crisis. Reece James missing multiple matches with a hamstring issue since the Ghana game. Deej Spence and Jarrell Kwanzaa both dealing with their own fitness concerns. So Tuchel's been forced into some genuinely awkward improvising back there. And losing Jordan Henderson for the rest of the tournament to, of all things, a freak injury jumping over an advertising board celebrating the Mexico win, that's the kind of bizarre bad luck story that writes itself into every England World Cup narrative eventually. But here's what's different this time. It's not the spine of the team that's compromised. It's the fullback position. Compare that to France potentially missing their defensive midfield anchor going into a knockout tie, or Argentina fielding the oldest squad in their World Cup history and needing individual magic just to survive Egypt. A right-back injury crisis is a real problem. It is not the same category of problem as losing your entire midfield structure, or your legs simply not being there anymore in extra time.
And there's something else nobody's really talking about, which is Tuchel himself. Say what you want about the man, but he did not walk into this job pretending he was going to build some beautiful possession-based utopia overnight. He walked in, looked at the squad, and built something that is actually incredibly hard to play against, a team that can sit in, absorb pressure, go down to 10 men against a hostile crowd in Mexico City, and still find a way to win. That is a manager trait, not a lucky bounce trait. Compare that to the pressure cooker Deschamps is operating under in literally his last ever tournament in the job, or the fact that Scaloni is now managing an aging golden generation that is running on fumes and muscle memory rather than legs. So here's the actual case. Not the hopeful, blind faith, this is our year because it's always our year kind of case that gets said every single tournament regardless of the evidence. The actual look at the data case. England have a striker in the form of his life sitting on a joint national record. They have a young midfielder who has already proven twice in this tournament that he can carry a team through adversity. They have shown for maybe the first time in a long time that going down to 10 men against a hostile crowd does not automatically mean collapse anymore. Meanwhile, the two teams sitting above them in the betting markets are dealing with an injury to their defensive anchor heading into a must-win knockout game, and a squad that is statistically older right now than it has ever been at a World Cup, still relying on individual brilliance just to stay alive. None of that guarantees anything, obviously. This is still football. This is still England. And Norway, with Haaland scoring in basically every single game he's played this tournament, is a very real problem standing directly in the way before any of this even matters. But if you're looking for the version of this tournament where the trophy doesn't go to France or Argentina, you don't have to look very hard for the reasons why. They're sitting right there in the injury reports and the average age of the starting 11. England, for once, might actually be the team peaking exactly when it matters, while everyone else is starting to show cracks right on schedule.